Shalom and welcome back. I wanted to do a very short clip today on how society has actually degraded in the last 100 or so years. So what I did was I went online and I found some old videos of the streets of America back in the early 1900s, so approximately 100 to 120 years ago. Now these videos are just the normal everyday street life in America, everywhere in America. Everyone was dressed modestly. Now, I challenge you to find one woman in any of these clips that's not dressed modestly. You'll notice that they have their collars very high and they're not showing cleavage. They have their arms fully covered. They have a dress that goes all the way down to the ground. And most of them are wearing hats. This is elegant. It shows that these women respected themselves. They had dignity. They didn't want to degrade themselves by flaunting themselves, by exposing themselves. And the men are dressed in at the very least they have a dress shirt and a sport jacket on. But most of the men actually have suits on, suits, ties, the whole thing. This was normal for everyone on the street to dress like this. You never seen people walking around immodestly back just 100 years ago. Now, when we look at what's going on today, you'll see the drastic difference. Now you have to ask yourself, would you rather live in a society like this or in a society that we have today? For instance, this video right here, you can see the people on the sidewalk are all dressed modestly, but take a closer look at the people on the beach. Even the people on the beach are fully clothed. The women have long dresses on. The men are in suits on the beach, right by the water. This was norm. People didn't walk around in bathing suits. They didn't walk around showing as much skin as they could. They covered up as much as they could because that's dignified. You degrade yourself by exposing yourself. So this was the norm just a little over 100 years ago. Imagine if we could live in this society today. We wouldn't have so much filth everywhere. Now, I could not show you modern day clips because there's no such thing as a street in America. Well, there might be one or two, but 99.9% of the streets in America are full of immodesty. You can't go to a store today without seeing someone half unclothed. So I couldn't show you any of that, but I did pull a couple of videos of what society has become. And it's quite shocking. And when I show it to you, I'm going to bring you some prophecies that we have that actually prophesized this actually happening. But back to the videos of yesteryear, you can see all of these people here, even the little children, they're dressed very modestly. There's very little skin showing. Their hands and their face. That's pretty much it. What more do you need to show? Do you really need to show your whole body? Do you really need to show cleavage? Do you really need to show all your legs? No, people don't need to do that. And then you think about society back then, how people stayed married longer and, society was just better. People respected each other. Now, here's some video clips of today. But first, I wanna preface this with what the sages tell us of what's going to happen in the world just before the Mashiach comes. So the way we can tell when the Mashiach is going to come is by world events, not by a particular type of person or a particular person. The Mashiach is not described in any of the scriptures except that he comes from the house of David and the house of Solomon his son. It's really all about him as a person. It tells what he's supposed to do, but what the sages tell us is the times, the world events that are going to happen. So they list several world events that's going to happen, a couple dozen, and they're all based on verses in the prophets. But I want to bring up one specific prophecy. It says, in the period which will precede the coming of the Moshiach, the face of the generation will be like the face of a dog. Now, the sages tell us what they meant by this is they believed that the people were going to be arrogant, they're going to be shameless, audacious, they're going to be entitled, they're going to feel like they're entitled. And just like dogs, when you walk by a dog, it barks at you for no reason. It just barks. It feels like it owns everything, and how dare you walk near me. So you see that with people today. People, they go in restaurants and they start screaming at people that are just trying to eat dinner, or they attack people on the street. They act like dogs. But what's interesting is they actually act more like dogs than I think the sages actually thought they would. So here's a few videos of people today. Now let's contrast this with what it was just 100 years ago. The sages tell us the people of the generation right before the Mashiach are going to be the face of dogs. This is literally what people have become. They dress up like dogs, and they bark at each other, and they get on all fours, and they have people walk them around in a leash. That's what we've become. So you got to ask yourself, what was better? Were we better back then, or are we better now? I think the answer is pretty obvious. So when you really look at where we're at today, we all should be ashamed of ourselves, because personally, I would rather live in the society that we had 100 years ago. So thank you for your time, and I wish you a wonderful day.